Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Fantasy Authority podcast. I am back again as your host, Ryan Williams here. You can find me on Twitter at @RyanAlexander_W, and I'm joined by the usual suspects. We got Ben Cummins at Ben Cummins FF. We got Dynasty Frank at Dynasty Frank, and then we got Kev Steele. You can find him at Fantasy Wrath 13. Now, guys, we are here to talk about the 2017 tight end prospects, and we're also going to do something fun, a little rookie mock draft at the end. But we are joined today by our special guest, Eliot Crist. Twitter at Eliot Crist. He's an analyst for Pro Football Focus as well as a national scout for NDT Scouting. Now, that's Eliot with one L, one T, in case you guys aren't familiar with his work, but I encourage you guys to do so. Eliot, how are we doing today, my friend?
I'm fantastic. Excited to talk about tight ends.
Yeah, man, we got a deep class. Now we're talking about tight ends as like on the football field, right? Because I mean, we do have Jake Butt in this class, and it's kind of confusing when you just throw out the word tight end there.
Yeah, Jake Butt might have the best tight end name in the history of tight ends.
Hell yeah.
Exactly. Man, so, a lot has been made about this class, Eliot, and you guys, other guys, feel free to chime in, but a lot has been made about this class being stacked up. We're not used to seeing that with the tight end classes that we get. A lot of these guys are, some of these guys are projected to go in the first round even. Some of these guys are expected to make an impact depending on their landing spots. And so I think, there's probably three that I think probably will be those types of players to come in and be able to start right away. But some of these mid-tier guys that we're going to touch on as well seem a little bit interesting. But Eliot, how are you viewing this class as a whole?
So I think anytime you talk about tight ends, it's important to realize that there's typically a 1, 2, even 3-year transition time for them to be successful because they have to learn new schemes, but also improve their blocking ability. And they're running a much more varied route tree. So there are 3 top guys in this year's class, and O.J. Howard, David Njoku, and Evan Ingram. But Howard is in a league of his own compared to Njoku and Ingram. The thing that makes O.J. Howard so special as a football player is that he's the best run blocker in the class. He blocks almost as well as a tackle. If you watch his game against Texas A&M, you can see him hold his own against Myles Garrett. Alabama consistently ran behind him. He can block in space and will do wonders for a team's run game. On top of that, he's an elite athlete, and we saw him run a 4.51 at the combine at 6'6", 251 pounds. That's pretty much unheard of. He had a limited route tree at Alabama. He'll need to work on that. But one of the things they were able to show with him is that when he gets the ball in space, he can turn up the field and run and blow right by people. He dominated Clemson in the national title game a couple years ago, where I think he put up like 180 yards or something like that. He's got really good hands. He's comfortable catching in traffic. He can play bully ball against smaller players, and he's going to outrun safeties and linebackers. He's going to be a matchup nightmare and has the ceiling of a Rob Gronkowski in the NFL.
Nice.
In terms of David Njoku, he's really excited when you watch him play. You can tell he's raw. So the worry with him is that you're going to have to wait a little bit for it all to come to light. But when you see him get the ball in his hands, he does really well. Evan Silva tweeted out a stat. I think he averages like 11.2 yards after catch or something like that, which is absurd for a tight end. Njoku also runs a very developed route tree. He was Kaya's first look. He was able to run routes both in line and in the slot. He destroyed linebackers, and he was too big for corners. His blocking, he's got the functional strength in order to succeed, but it's very raw at this point. You can turn on the tape, and I think it's the Pittsburgh game, and he's got his man completely locked up. And then after 2 seconds, for some reason, it's like a clock light went off in his head and just let him go and just stopped playing. And then the guy immediately tackles the ball carrier. He's got a lot of work to do in terms of getting ready for the NFL, but his ceiling is really high as well. Now, Evan Ingram is the guy that all fantasy people love. Here's a guy that's going to be 6'3", 235 pounds, runs a 4.42. Put him in the slot. or you can run him out of inline. He's got a developed route tree, soft hands. He's going to be a matchup issue in the NFL for sure. His big thing is whether or not he just makes a full-time move to slot receiver. He can play in line and he can block in space, but if you ask him to block from the inline position on linebackers and defensive ends, he's going to get destroyed. He lacks the functional strength in order to hold his own down there. So in terms of fantasy relevance for his blocking, the worrisome thing is that it could become where if he's on the field, it's a huge tendency breaker or tendency flag, I guess, for the opposing defense to know that if he's on the field, they're passing. So
Right.
You almost wonder if that's going to take him out of certain red zone situations and hurt him in terms of number of touchdowns.
So what's up, Elliot? Nice to have you on the pod, bro.
I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I love your work at NDT and all over Twitter, man. Seriously. So it seems like you're saying like Howard can step in right now and be a day one starter, but Njoku and Ingram need some grooming to do with some coaching staffs.
So my huge thing with Ingram is what team he goes to and how they use him. You hope he goes to a team that allows him to run a majority of his routes from the slot. I'll pull it up in a second to tell you who ran the most routes out of the slot from the tight end. I think it was Cameron Braid at like 54%. So even if the team wants him to play out of the slot, 54% led the league last year. So the question is, how much more is he going to do than that? I'm sorry, 64%. That's what it was, 64%, not 54%. But if a team is willing to use him almost strictly as a slot receiver, he could have an immediate impact. And for fantasy, that would be huge if you can get a tight end, a guy that you're playing at tight end that gets wide receiver production. The thing that's going to hold him back is his blocking. Njoku is just kind of raw all around. He's one of those guys that kind of fits the mix of freak athlete tight end, where you saw flashes in college that if you can stick with for a year or two and he can reach his ceiling, he can become a top 10 tight end. I think O.J. Howard gets drafted and from day one is a top 10 NFL tight end.
Nice.
I think he'll finish with tight end 1 production. If he goes to the right team, he could be a top 5 tight end. He's just got his ceiling is legitimately the best tight end in the NFL.
That's awesome.
I tend to agree. I tend to have that kind of similar line of thought. Elliot, what's up, man?
How we doing, man? I'm excited for another O.J. Howard truther.
Yeah, man. And
wait, are there not O.J. Howard truthers out there? I thought he was like overall the consensus tight end one.
But look, Elliot said a couple things that I want to piggyback off of. First of all, I do agree with you a little bit, Frank, that I do think there is going to be a little bit of an adjustment. Definitely for Ingram. Elliot brought that up. And I think for Njoku too. I really like Njoku's ceiling. But I am an O.J. Howard truther as well. Here's the thing. Like, I feel like he's not getting the respect that he deserves just because we keep saying it's a great tight end class. And like Elliot said at the beginning, I think O.J. Howard is in a group of his own as well, but yet we keep grouping him into this class. But it's really O.J. Howard that is making this class so elite, because I agree. I think that his game can seamlessly translate to the NFL. And I think if any rookie tight end is going to be relevant right away, it's going to be O.J. Howard.
You think it's because of the stats? I'm sorry to interrupt.
The
like,
stats?
3 touchdowns last year. You know what I mean? Like, O.J. Howard isn't like – he's not that flashy. I mean, according to what I'm looking at.
He wasn't used a ton. I think Elliot brought that up a little bit too at Alabama. But, you go back – I mean, I was just going to say his number one comp on Player Profiler is Greg Olsen. And I just love that so much because Greg Olsen's a complete tight end. He literally never leaves the field, right? And I see that for O.J. Howard too. But if you go back and look at what Greg Olsen did in college, his stats weren't all that impressive either, yet he was a first-round pick. So I'm not worried about the production. You see when he catches the ball, he can break tackles. He's pretty good in space. He has great hands. And like Elliot said, his blocking is just elite. You see him punishing dudes lined up as an actual tight end, and then also lined up out wide. And so, again, I think his game can seamlessly translate. And the thing about that, and this is where we kind of, start to marry real life NFL and fantasy football with our analysis a little bit, because I think that, you have to do that and you have to look at it from the 360 point of view, is because OJ Howard is going to be on the field in every single play, that gives the offensive coordinator so much more versatility to call play action passes where he's blocked 5 times in a row. And now the defense has no idea if he's blocking again or if he's going out for a pass route. And those play action passes, he can be the number 1 read. He can be the number 2 read. And like Eliot brought up, when Ingram comes in the game, at least early on in his career, you kind of know what's happening, right? But that also means that he's not going to be on the field all the time, because the offensive coordinator is going to want to bring him in.
Well, there's
when it's a passing down,
there's advantages
right?
to both, right? I mean, if Evan Ingram is in the slot, then there's an advantage for the offense. Yes, all right, the defense knows you're passing, but you still got to account for.
I agree with you. And if Ingram goes to the right spot, absolutely, I totally agree. I like all 3 guys.
Yeah, me too.
But my point is, I think we get so hung up on, oh, well, OJ Howard's not that exciting because he's not this Jordan Reed type. But guess what? OJ Howard can line up in the slot too, okay? And, Eliot brought up the Rob Gronkowski, like his ceiling could be Rob Gronkowski. Rob Gronkowski's an inline tight end, but what do you see? They line him up all over the field in the slot, out wide. This is exactly what OJ Howard can do. And I told you guys I had a little rant. I'll finish this really quickly. But the thing that kind of –
Oh, this was the rant? I'm sorry. This was the rant? I don't interrupt rants. I'm sorry to interrupt your rant.
The thing that gets me a little bit is you'll see people on Twitter saying, oh, well, OJ Howard is the better NFL player, but Njoku's the better fantasy player. And they are married together, right? Because Njoku has a really high ceiling. I get that. But we look at it and say, oh, well, Njoku could be Jordan Reed. Well, if you go back and look at Jordan Reed's 2015 season, there were so many things that broke right for him to be the stud. He had a very good quarterback. He had a very good offensive-minded offensive coordinator and head coach. The Redskins did not have a very good running game. Deshaun Jackson was hurt for about half the year. Jamison Crowder was in his first year, and Pierre Garçon was basically the wide receiver 1. And none of those guys scream red zone monsters, right? So I think that's more rare. But if you go look at the traditional tight ends that have been at the top of fantasy leaderboards, Rob Gronkowski, Tony Gonzalez, Jason Witten, Antonio Gates, Greg Olsen, Travis Kelce, all these guys are good blockers for the most part to where they can do everything. And because of that, the offensive coordinator gives them so much versatility. They stay on the field. And so even if we look at it as, oh, well, he's not as exciting, that means a lot for fantasy, whether you want to think about it or not. So that was just kind of the thoughts that I had.
One thing to piggyback off that is if we're talking about less exciting players, a lot of that can also do with what school they played at. And we're going to talk about Alabama as the best school in the country, but that's because of their defense. And if you look at the quarterbacks that Njoku and Ingram played with, they're both NFL prospects. And Chad Kelly, I mean, he's a lower prospect because of things he likes to do off the field and whose DMs he likes to slide in. And Njoku has Brad Kaya, who by many people think is a second or third round prospect. Right. Jalen Hurts was a one-read quarterback. He was literally the definition of one read and then run.
He wasn't very good.
No. So if his read is an OJ Howard, his routes are then kind of they're useless. I mean, so if you get the one thing that can stop OJ Howard from being a top 10 tight end his rookie year is the New York Jets.
What about the Giants? I'm hoping OJ Howard is there for the Giants. I would love him on the Giants.
That'd be amazing.
I think OJ Howard's ceiling is pick 4 and his floor is pick 12.
Damn it.
Therein lies the problem.
I mean, I would love for him, and I know you're a Giants fan, but if he went to Oakland,
oh yeah,
and he got Carr, and you add him to that dominating offensive line as a run blocker, that offense would start to annihilate people. Same thing with Tennessee. If he went 5 to Tennessee or somehow fell to 18,
oh man,
what he could do for Murray and Henry on top of that power blocking offensive line, teams wouldn't know how to stop a Delaney Walker, OJ Howard 2 tight end set where they're both elite.
That would be so nice
and right when Ben's trying to get Mariota too, bud. Ben's salivating.
People could be listening, bro. People could be
Right,
listening.
this is live.
No, it's good. It's good. It's good. It's good. It's good.
My bad.
Oh man.
That's
So yeah, I'm
phenomenal.
hoping Howard.
Yo, Elliot,
Yes, sir.
what do you, when it comes to measurables with these tight ends, what does that mean to you? Because I'm looking at some of these guys, I'm looking at the measurables, and they really stand out. At least the top three guys that we're talking about here, like they're all athletic freaks. They're all showed up at the combine, running the 3-cone drill, at insane numbers for even for like running backs, they'd be pretty decently good. But for tight ends, I think they're phenomenal. So how they ran in the combine and how their numbers tested out, what does that mean to you?
So it sounds like you're trying to get me yelled at on Twitter again. But
Are you a film guy or a numbers guy?
Not at
Metrics
all.
guy?
I love this question. It's such a good question.
so,
It kind of sounded like that, Ryan.
no, if you're going to ask me if I'm a film guy or I'm a numbers guy, I'm 110% a film guy. I mean, I'm not watching 250-plus prospects to then throw that away when they run their measurables or they run their times. But I think it plays a part in it, but I think it's a piece of it. And the thing about testing is so often you see that on the field. So when you saw O.J. Howard run a great 40 time or Evan Ingram run a great 40 time, you could see it on the field because they weren't being caught. They were good route runners. They could get out of breaks. So it doesn't surprise me that they ran a good 3-cone or a 40 time. A later round guy like George Kittle, if you watch him in Iowa, was a dominating run blocker who flashed the ability to catch the football and have soft hands. And then he goes to the combine and he tears it up. So you go back and you rewatch and you try to see where it was. Guys like Howard and Njoku and Ingram, I had zero doubt from watching the film that they were going to be great combine guys.
Right. Yeah. The athletic measurables,
Yeah,
all three of those guys testing out great. That's just the cherry on top. I would imagine. I mean, that's kind of how I was looking at it.
Yeah. So like these three are the consensus top three, right? And then you have that mid tier. You have like that 4 to 8 or 4 to 7. Where would you have your guys, Elliot? Like, what are the next group of guys?
So I believe that tight ends should be able to block if you want them to play consistently. Unless they're if they're an Evan Ingram, I think it's an exception. So I actually really like George Kittle of Iowa. Gerald Everett of South Alabama is basically a poor man's version of Evan Ingram. He played a very, very similar role, H-back, in line, and slot. Kind of beat inferior competition, but also held his own when they played the top guys. He's got smaller hands, but he still catches the ball well. He runs good routes. He's really good after the catch. He's going to struggle as a blocker as well. But if you wanted to take a tight end that, say, in the third, if you missed out on Ingram in the late first, early second, and wanted a tight end in the third or fourth round that profiles as a similar kind of weapon, Everett's a good guy for you. I like Sprinkle from Arkansas, but he's going to be more of like a tight end 2 that could eventually develop into a tight end 1, kind of a powerful run blocker that can kind of get what the play is designed, but isn't going to do a whole lot more than that. Like Jordan Leggett from Clemson, I think he's a good receiver that's going to really struggle blocking as well. And then Jake Butt from Michigan is kind of the tight end that does everything well but nothing great. You watch him.
Great last name. Except
Yeah, exactly.
that name.
Perfect last name. Perfect last name.
Amazing.
So he's like Scott Chandler.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's Scott Chandler.
Oh man, yo! Since we opened the pod with him, if he didn't tear his ACL in the bowl game, I think it was. You're watching tape on all these guys. What round do you like? Do you have a guess on what round he would have went in versus what you think he's going to go now because he tore his ACL?
I think he'll probably go in the 4th. He probably would have gone late 2nd, early 3rd.
Wow.
Okay.
I think everyone talks about this tight end class as this like elite class, this super talented tight end class. And I think it's because of the top 3 guys. I think after the top 3 guys, you start looking at guys that do one individual thing well, but aren't the complete package. So you got to try to figure out what your team can afford to sacrifice. I think Kittle is a guy. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, do you think some of it is because of fantasy football, and we see these guys and especially their measurables, and they like a ton of them really test out well in their measurables, but we're not looking at it from an NFL standpoint. Like, plenty of teams are going to value a tight end that can actually block, and if these guys struggle, but as a fantasy perspective, that I think where a lot of these guys look at it, they feel like, well, look what this guy's measurables are. He's athletic. This guy's going to be a great tight end, but they're not really getting the whole picture or putting everything into context of what actual NFL teams are actually going to be looking at in these guys.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because like we talked about earlier, fantasy guys don't care if you can block, right? They just want you to make the catch touchdowns as a tight end.
That's right.
So, exactly. It's exciting when a guy's a freak athlete. Those are the kind of guys that everyone points out. Well, Jimmy Graham did it. Well, if we start drafting guys based on the exception to the rule as opposed to the rule, that's how you get fired as a general manager. So you got to feel really good about a guy if you're going to do that. Tight ends that can't block typically can't stay on the field very often. If you can be an Evan Ingram and you can split out to the slot, you can do that. But if you can't, you're going to struggle to stay on the field consistently and be anything more than like a second or third tight end that's a weapon.
Especially early on, right? And that's exactly what fantasy owners, since we're talking about that, have to weigh. And again, just to piggyback again off of your question, Kev, I know I said earlier, but I truly feel like you take OJ Howard out of this class, and I don't think people are sitting there saying this is an amazing class. Like, he's the foundation that allows some of these other guys that it's, a little bit questionable how they're going to translate, allow us to get excited about and say, oh, this class is amazing. I truly believe that.
So I think one of the other reasons is that because Howard goes top 12 and Njoku goes top 24 and Ingram goes top 40, all of a sudden you have three tight ends on the top 40 and you're like, all right, this class is really good.
Right.
Right.
The other thing about the combine that I think it plays a role in everything is recency bias, right? It's what we've all seen most recently, and the fact that it's the last thing that we all get to see before the draft of all these players, and it's just a strictly number thing where you can compare people. It's very easy to get excited about that.
Well, and on the flip side, I think another reason why some might be saying they love the class so much is because they're throwing guys like Bucky Hodges and Adam Shaheen into that list. And those are guys that you didn't talk about when you talked about guys you like. So do you want to just give a quick evaluation of those players?
Well, Bucky Hodges played wide receiver at Virginia Tech. I understand that he's big. What is he, 6'7", 255? He weighed in at the combine. He played around 235. Came into
is that like a Darren Waller situation?
Yeah,
basically,
he ran one route at Virginia Tech, and it was strictly jump ball, and he wasn't even great at the jump ball. He
right.
He struggled to block on the edge against corners, and played a total of 14 snaps in line. So will teams probably try to play him at tight end? I would imagine if he's going to stay at 255. Is he going to have a lot of success? I'm not going to bet on him making that a smooth transition. Oftentimes, tight ends aren't just running vertically up the field and being thrown jump balls. He's going to have to be able to move laterally and really develop a route tree on top of, improving his hands and learning how to block. That's a lot of question marks for me to take a guy where he's projected in the second or third round.
That's crazy.
Well, I've seen Adam Shaheen talk that he could go in the second round, possibly to the Cowboys.
Yeah, I watched his film. I think I watched like 4 games. I was searching for it on YouTube, and I was trying to figure out where this hype is coming from, because he was struggling to block guys at the Division II level. So when he steps up to the NFL, that's going to be a huge jump. He does have ability after the catch and was pulling away from the guys that he was playing against, and he was bigger than everyone he played against. We talked about how difficult of a transition is to the NFL. To go from D2, a guy that struggles to block, it was just kind of bigger than everybody. Not much about him got me excited, but his measurables will get him overdrafted, I would guess.
What are his measurables? Was he like 6'7"?
He tested well at the combine, right? Which I think this could go back to Eliot's point where it's recency bias, and you see the athleticism, and all of a sudden he's a second rounder, where the tape might not show it. I don't know if somebody wants to pull it up. I'm not.
So he's 6'6", 278 pounds, and he ran a 4.8.
Wow.
That's
I mean, that's not amazing.
78.
He is huge, so
that's a planet.
Yeah, no, he's a giant dude.
Right.
Now, I probably shouldn't say this on air because it'll get me in trouble, but that's why you guys have me on the podcast, right? To say dumb things.
That's right. That's right.
Don't worry, Kyle is not watching or listening. So go ahead, go for it.
Kyle was subtweeting me yesterday, anyway. But this is not a compliment to myself, but when I watched him play, the first person he reminded me of is me playing flag football. Like I'm 6'4" and 225 pounds, and just the bigger white guy against people when I play. Just throw me a jump ball and hope for the best. But
and since
that's the first thing that popped in my head.
That's phenomenal. That's a keeper soundbite right there.
Yeah, and since we're getting the fire takes that were put out before we started the show, unless anybody wants to say something else about Sheehan, I want to go back to Bucky Hodges for a minute because I really liked your point, Eliot, that kind of correlates to Mike Williams in a really weird way, and I really wanted out
Mike
there
Williams.
Because it's so
here
easy.
We go.
This is what happens. That's what happens all the
show?
time, right? We got to push the subjectivity out of analysis sometimes where it's like, oh, I really love this dude, but I don't like this dude. But does it really make sense? So let's get Eliot in more trouble. How about that?
What trouble? I mean, I doubt going to bat for Mike Williams is going to get you in trouble. If going to bat for Mike Williams gets you in trouble, then there's something wrong with everyone else. That's an industry problem.
And I think this is a really good point, too. So I'm going to let him make it if he wants to.
Yeah, no, I mean, I love Mike Williams. I wrote a whole piece about how he wins and how he actually is open on a lot of his routes. But a lot of people are hating on, and hating, I hate the word hating, so I apologize for using that. But
Right.
are talking about how they don't like Mike Williams, but then they say in the same sentence, they like Bucky Hodges. And I don't understand how you can possibly like the two, because Hodges wins with size and contested catch ability, despite the fact that his contested catch is worse than Mike Williams. Williams runs better routes. He can beat the press. He's got better hands. He's better in contested catch situations. Like, he's literally better at everything than Bucky Hodges, yet people will like Bucky Hodges and not like Mike Williams.
Well, I think it's because he's a tight end, right? Or
but he played
as a tight end. Well, I think that goes back to sort of what I was saying is like I know like even I was guilty of it. Like when I first looked at Bucky Hodges, I looked at his measurables and I'm like, wow. I mean, he just tested off the chart in a lot of areas where athletically he looked great. Now, if I never would have went and watched any tape on the guy, it's easy just to catch yourself being like, oh my God, look, this guy's going to be great, just looking at some of these measurables. But if you've never watched a single game tape of him, you're not going to see all the other, warts that the guy has. And I think that's what happens with a lot of these guys. People just don't spend as much time actually going through and doing the due diligence.
Right. That's why both aspects of scouting or analysis is important.
Absolutely. Yes.
You know what I mean? And it's a shame. I don't know how many rants I've been on this on whichever podcast. I don't know why. If you just come out and say, why don't you watch the film on this guy? You're denying thresholds and you're denying this and certain this and you hate stats and metrics. I'm like, no. Just
why not incorporate more data?
Exactly. Why does more information
more pieces
offend
of information.
people?
Can we throw another aspect out to spreadsheet Twitter?
Please.
Sure.
Please.
Spreadsheets.
And listen, some spreadsheets are important as well. I don't want to shit on
spreadsheets need love too. Spreadsheets need love too.
So like Kyle and Joe, my bosses over at NDT Scouting, measurables all play a percentage of their evaluation. Just film plays the biggest. So now it's very easy to say, all guys that run under 4.6 or over 4.6 aren't good, right? It's very easy to make that statement and throw out a ton of names.
Heights for quarterbacks, all types of stuff. Yep.
Whatever it is. So here's the thing. One is that a majority of NFL players fail as it is.
Yep.
Okay.
Right.
Another is that how many of those guys were supposed to be good, right? Like how many 4.6 guys were terrible prospects, and they relied on their speed, which 4.6 is good enough in college, and then it doesn't translate to the NFL, right? Now,
Right.
if you don't rely on speed, like Mike Williams, if Mike Williams was beating everybody with his speed and then runs a 4.55, I would care. But Mike Williams wasn't beating people with his speed. If John Ross ran a 4.5, I would care because he wins with speed. So much is about how you win and not necessarily the measurable. The measurable is more important to how it reflects to their film, right? Like Chris Godwin's a great example from Penn State. When you watch him, nothing about him says 4.4, so you go back and try to match it up. Dalvin Cook, when you watch him, nobody caught him. He made people miss, right?
Right.
But his combine was awful. And then there was talks about, well, you know, he had that shoulder injury and was trying to prove that it was fine. So he bulked up, got top heavy, did 22 reps on the bench to prove he was okay. And then the rest of his measurables were terrible because he was. And now then Sports Science does their thing where they say, well, in pads, the first 20 yards, he's as fast as John Ross. And now spreadsheet Twitter is like, what? Yeah, who cares? It's not a measurable. Well, that's the measurable that was on the field, right? Mike Williams' measurables were identical to A.J. Green. But it's, well, you know what? He's terrible because he ran a 4.55 and got no separation. One, the no separation thing is bullshit. Two, a factor in Mike Williams' separation also is the fact that Clemson's Deshaun Watson would have one of the fastest times to throw in the NFL, in college football, of under 2.5 seconds. When a quarterback is throwing the ball for 3 seconds, a receiver can get more separation. He's also going against double coverage and bracket coverage, and his size creates his separation. So when he runs his routes, he's not going to the sideline against press. He's leaving 8 yards out to the sideline, and then Watson has that free area. People consider that a jump ball, but it's a great NFL play where they're throwing to an open window where he gets to go make a play, where it's basically Mike Williams catch it or an interception. So we can talk about measurables, and measurables are a factor in things, but they're not the whole thing, right? And now I'm sure I'm going to get my name called out on another podcast, but the Podfather had a whole little rant about what my name was, and that Ish Zamora is better than Mike Williams, and then I need to shut up, and I'm not Jesus.
Let's go.
These are all things that I'm aware of. And the funny thing is, I actually tried to talk to him on Twitter about what he liked better other than a measurable, but he wouldn't talk to me. He decided to call me out instead. Now, I'm not trying to get into a beef with the Podfather, but he said, the College Dominator says that Ish Zamora could be anywhere between Des Bryant and Chris Conley. Well, fantastic. That's a really good range for NFL teams. Watch the film, and it can help you determine where that stuff plays a role in. You know what I mean? Like, not all stats are the same in college either. Like, I just wrote up a piece about why Baylor players fail in the NFL. When you look at their system, receivers aren't running routes half the time. They only run 5 routes, and they're playing the worst competition of basically any team.
Yes.
In the big in the Power 5 conferences. They've played 14 defensive players in the last 5 years. 14 in total that went in the first 3 rounds of the NFL draft. Clemson is going to play 14 just in the two playoff games alone.
Right, like, 3 games.
Right.
2 games.
Everything plays a factor, but metrics aren't the only factor.
Thank you.
Like, for example, Tease Tabor is a corner that people hate, right? People hate Tease Tabor because he ran a 4.62 at the combine, and then allegedly he has that hamstring injury, and then he ran a 4.7. Now, 4.7 sucks as a corner, no doubt about it. But if you watch his tape, where he wins is never speed. It's on anticipation and ball skills. And, like, I have a source that says he was not fast. They told me before the combine he's not fast. He said that he lives in the film room. That's what he does. And if you watch his film, he's the first corner to break on the ball. He likes playing off ball and cover 3, where he can focus on the quarterback and he breaks on the ball. That's a huge skill, right? So if he doesn't win with his speed, I'm less concerned than a corner that does win with his speed. But that's the end of my rant.
Right, but you wouldn't know that, or people wouldn't know that unless they watch the film. Sorry, I'm cursing now.
Preach. No.
You're like, if you just have spreadsheet in front of you, then you wouldn't know, like, all right, this corner, I'm sorry, I'm not on the IDP side. You wouldn't know he's in anticipation player. You know, he's not a speed. Like you said, John Ross wins with speed. If he ran a 4.55, then you're like, wait a second, there's something wrong. Everything you just said, preach. Thank you very much, Eliot. I love it. But there are also, you need some thresholds, right? There is a wide receiver needs, you would like him to be, you know, above 5'5", you know, like a 5 foot wide receiver just isn't going to do it. I don't care how fast he runs. He's just
Right.
it's not going to work for a 5, you know, so there are measurables and metrics do play into it, but you need a nice yin and yang between the two.
Right.
And again, the industry needs to stop attacking each other like, oh, you know, film is so subjective and this. Okay, but so in metrics. All you're doing is looking at height and you're looking at how fast the guy ran. But if a guy drops everything and is thrown to him, or he can't get separation, or he can't elevate, or whatever, it's just.
I bet Usain Bolt would test off the charts with his metrics.
What was that?
Usain
Oh, yeah.
Bolt would probably test
Yeah,
off the
and
charts.
what was it? Seattle just signed a track star. Yeah, like we just
They're pieces.
we just
You know
had
what I'm
Harmon
saying?
on. Go ahead, Eliot.
I was gonna say they're pieces. Right?
Yes,
I think,
exactly.
I think the reason people get offended is because in order to create a spreadsheet, it takes a ton of time, and you feel really
Right.
good about your work.
And it
in
takes a
order
ton of time to watch film, right?
If you're watching film on 200 guys, like I just helped out Matt Miller on 65 receivers for Bleacher Report.
Wow, that's awesome.
The amount of time that took me is insane. And then for people to just be like, well, you know what? That your opinion's stupid. He ran a 4.55.
Right.
Makes me immediately say, you know, like I watched the film and I looked at the numbers. So I see why people get upset, but it's really important to understand that they're both pieces to a puzzle. I
Exactly.
personally value film more than metrics. I think that film is about 70% of a player's evaluation. I think that metrics are about 15%, and I think that off-field and stuff like that is the other 15%. But so often metrics.
Well,
What?
off field has become more and more, you know, prevalent with the social media and everything else. And before, I mean, listen, Lawrence Taylor would have never been drafted if off field, if they with social media.
Yeah, Michael Jordan, if TMZ existed, Michael Jordan would have been in all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Right.
Too much
Michael
gambling.
Irvin too. A ton of the
Michael Irvin
Cowboys
still
would have
is
been.
getting in trouble. Michael Irvin still
Michael
getting
Irvin's still getting in trouble. Yo,
It's
Ryan, what
unbelievable.
percentage were you saying was pretty high? The 70% film?
15% off the field, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, but it's gotten bigger over the years. But yeah, the 70% of film, because I do, and I'll just speak for myself, like before we were diving into these rookies and stuff, I considered myself a statistical guy. I very rarely, you know, would take the time to watch these prospects on film. And when I'm viewing them on film and I'm looking at them, yeah, it is subjective, but I think that for me, I'm going to have a better idea in my thought process of, okay, I knew that this is what I was looking for when I was watching this prospect.
Is that me? Did he just drop out of everybody?
Yeah.
He's in now. He might come back to us. Well, until he comes back to us, it's funny for me because I really consider myself 50-50. Like I can't see myself doing an evaluation on a player with just one or the other.
Me too.
Because I want both. And like I was going to say earlier, Harmon, you know, we had him on last week. He talks about, he writes it in his reception perceptions, talking with Sigmund Bloom. You know, they both do some stuff with football guys. Like they talk about how it's different divisions within one department. And I think that's such a great way to look at it because they all matter, like Eliot's saying. And it just depends on how much percentage, like Eliot just gave us, you want to put from one to the other. But at the end of the day, why not take as much information as you can? And to try probably terribly to bring this all the way back to Bucky Hodges, because that's one of the last players we were talking about. I think it's a pretty good example here too, right? Because I think like Kev brought it up, like, you know, it's easy to look at Bucky Hodges measurables and get really excited about him. But if you don't watch the film, you think he's a tight end because that's what he's labeled as. But Eliot just informed you that he literally played wide receiver in college. He lined up in line 14 times. And
Right.
I'm still relatively new to film, but I feel like Bucky Hodges is a guy that, you know, people watching, you know, you also have to know what you're looking for too, right? And I'm still working on that. But I think Bucky Hodges is a guy that, it's really easy to fall in love with the deep jump ball touchdowns and stuff like that. But you really have to think about it and know what you're looking for and know what needs to translate to the NFL. And Eliot was getting at that too. And realize that, is this going to work for a quote unquote tight end in the league? First of all, is he going to still be a wide receiver, or is he going to try to be more of a tight end, which he wasn't in college? And we know how long it takes a tight end to translate to the NFL game, and that's tight ends that actually played tight end in college.
Right.
This dude,
it's like the new
exactly. No, you're good. Exactly. And going back to the Mike Williams thing, one of the conversations, which I think is accurate, is Mike Williams will be better in the pros if he is a quarterback. Kev has brought this up before, that is going to be willing to throw him the ball, throw him those jump balls, and let him win the way that he wins. Right. And correlating that to Bucky Hodges, if Bucky Hodges, first of all, again, Bucky Hodges has to translate to tight end, and if he's going to play that in the pros, which is probably going to take him a long time because of what he did in college. But second of all, he's also going to need a quarterback that's going to throw him jump balls if he's going to do anything similar to what he did in college. And if he's not going to have that, then he's going to have to completely change his entire game. And that's a lot of reliance on factors out there that cause me to say, yeah, this is one of those dudes with a lot of measurables, but does that matter? And so he's a guy, based on what I saw on film, and I could be dead wrong, and anybody, you can tell me what you think, but that I would be hesitant taking in a rookie draft, because I just don't know. Like, again, he's the complete opposite of OJ Howard. You know exactly what OJ Howard's going to do at the next level. He's going to keep doing what he was doing. I have no idea what role Bucky Hodges will play with this. It seems
like
team.
The tight end is like the new. Remember, there was a 3-year wide receiver rule. Like 3 years, wide receivers in their third year was their breakout year, and it seems like the tight end is the 3-year rule now for some reason. I do feel like Bucky Hodges. I didn't even know Bucky Hodges was a wide receiver, like you guys were saying. Unless I watched film, I wouldn't know. Like, he was a wide receiver in Virginia Tech.
And it wasn't even it wasn't even just the slot. Like, again, you'll see a lot of dudes, OJ Howard and Njoku, a lot of times lining up in the slot. That's great. No, this dude was literally lining up on the outside a lot of the time.
It wasn't in the slot.
So
yeah. I think some of it plays a factor too, in terms of, like I was mentioning earlier, is that when you look at, the tight end position in the NFL, there's not a lot to be desired. You have the top guys, and then it's just sort of a bunch of guys at the bottom. But the athletic tight end in the NFL seems to get more, at least in the fantasy community. Look at Austin Seferian-Jenkins. That dude, full of athletic measurables, and but the guy has never really done anything. But he continues to – everybody loves the guy and continues to jump on him thinking that he's going to actually turn it around at some point. But I think that's kind of the point. And also that the tight end position, like I said, is so barren in the NFL of lack thereof. The cupboard's bare in terms of, the top guys. So we see this class, and like I said, once you start looking at their measurables, you start getting excited for what these guys can do. However, like we've, basically,
like
talked about –
right?
Yeah,
that's exactly what I was about to bring up.
We haven't, but people don't do all the homework to actually go through and study these guys. But the athletic tight end, when you look at their measurables, people are going to get excited, and they don't care anything of what actually happened. Why they were in school, and what necessarily what their production was. Because when I hear a lot of people talk about these guys, I don't hear anybody talk about their production of what they actually did in school, what their numbers were. All I hear is how athletic they are, and same with Bucky Hodges. It's the same thing you've heard about him. Is man, look at this guy, 6'7", 250. I think he ran a 4.5 40. Just people see these things, and they lose their minds because of it. And then, but like I said, perfect. Like when I turned on and started actually watching Bucky Hodges, I was like, this guy's not going to be very good. Like I'm not seeing it. Like you start watching it then, and then you're like, wow, like this all he literally does every single play. He just runs deep and they throw it up to him. That's not going to work in the NFL.
The other thing about Bucky Hodges, and Ben, you were touching on this, is that these other receivers are running their routes in the slot. Like tight ends in the NFL aren't really typically lined up out wide more than a couple plays every once in a while, and that's all he did. And he came into Virginia Tech as a quarterback. So you're talking about someone that was a raw as a wide receiver.
Right, already.
14.
It's just like, what is going on? Well, who started? Let's pull out. Who started this whole Bucky Hodges bullshit?
I think we're pretty much on the same page. And he's bullying shorter corners, that he's going to have better if he were to somehow play the same role, which, I'm getting excited about this dude based on what he did in college. If he plays the same role, he's going to have tougher corners to beat that aren't going to be as short, most likely, a lot of the time. And also, on some of the catches he made, he's kind of pushing off if you watch this film. And so it's like, the NFL is becoming more of a stickler on calling those OPIs. And so, there's just a lot of question marks there.
If you would have came out as a wide receiver, is he an undrafted free agent?
He's like a sixth round guy. So,
but as a tight end, he's a third, late second as projections. I don't know. I haven't heard.
I think Kyle and Joe both have him as wide receivers. Joe has him as wide receiver 49. Kyle has him somewhere in the 20s. He's one of those guys that blows my mind. And then if you watch him against Clemson, against Cordell Tankersley, who's supposed to be a first or second round pick, Tank shuts him down. Not only does Tank shut him down, but Tank wins the jump balls in the situations.
What? Yeah. I think Bucky Hodges is crap.
And I know it's an extremely small sample size, but the 4 games I watched, he's dropping some deep balls, some, easier passes too, and, again, drops. But even these plays that he's supposed to be making to shoot up his draft stock, he's not making all of them. So obviously, there's question marks there. Do we want to talk about any of these other guys, or do we want to get into this rookie mock?
I have one guy real quick. I'm sorry, guys. Elliot, I thought we touched.
You're good, Frank.
Did we touch on Jonnu Smith? Because he's been getting a lot of buzz lately on some podcasts. I don't know. Haven't watched him. Have no idea. I have zero opinion. Just wondering what you thought.
So he's an interesting guy because in 2015 he tore his ACL, I believe, and then in 2016 his pregnant girlfriend poured boiling hot water on him. So
wait, his pregnant girlfriend did what?
You didn't hear about that?
No.
No.
They were. I think she was making pasta or whatever, and he had a full bowl of boiling hot water, and she poured it all over him.
What?
Wow. So, in terms of his film, there's not a ton of recent film, but he's an athletic tight end that's really good with the ball in his hands. He's a good effort blocker, but his weight suggests that he's going to struggle in line in the NFL. I think with the ball in his hands and his route running ability makes him interesting, but I think he's more of a later round guy. Especially, not playing football for 2 years. I think that's a big deal as well.
I didn't realize that. Yeah, that's tough.
But from what I've heard, he should not have had boiling water poured on him. So I'm rooting for the guy, but he's not a guy that I'm necessarily all that excited for.
All right, cool.
That's crazy.
That sucks for him. Yeah,
this is why we got Elliot. That's why we got him on.
I know. He knows the ins and outs. What did they have, a boy or a girl? Do you know?
I don't know. I don't know how much time they spent together after.
Oh, man. And I think on that note, we should probably transition to this rookie mock.
We're going to do all right.
Yeah, man. Ryan, you want to introduce it?
Ryan's back, guys.
We got the 2-round rookie mock. I'm back and better than ever. Shout out Mike and Mike. So we got the 2-round rookie mock that we did.
3-round.
We got the it's 10 of us. So just with us 5, we're gonna do the mock. We're gonna make 2 selections. It's PPR, super flex, tight end premium. Despite all the talk that we had about this tight end class not being quite what it might be on the surface, we're still tight end premium. So we'll be interested to see where these guys are going. So the way the order is going to start out, Ben's going to pick first, Kevin second, Frank, and then myself. And then we're going to go back, Ben, Kevin, Elliot, Frank, and then me. And then we're snaking it at 10. Sounds good, fellas?
Yeah. Sounds good. So it's a 10-team PPR super flex tight end.
And we ended up doing a 3rd round, I think, right?
Yes,
so
we got 3 rounds.
So let's just go ahead and get into it. So
Ben, you got the 101 there.
I had the 101 and I took Christian McCaffrey. It's pretty crazy to me to see in our well, I won't spoil it, but it was between two guys, and it was McCaffrey for me. Because, and I think it's funny because it kind of correlates to this Bucky Hodges conversation of what is he? He's labeled a tight end. Well, yeah, Christian McCaffrey is a running back, right? And so we're all looking at him through that lens. But this is a dude that is also a wide receiver. And I think that's why I covered him at the 101 in full PPR dynasty leagues, because this is a dude that can rip off a 5-yard run on first down. Then hopefully, you know, of course, it's all landing spot, right? Draft doesn't happen. But hopefully the offensive coordinator that he has, the team that he has, is smart enough to know that on second down, they're going to put him in the slot. He's going to catch a 7-yard quick slant. On the next play, he's going to catch a running back screen. Like, he has so many different ways that he can be productive in PPR, and I just think he's a beast. I mean,
but Toby Gerhart never did that.
Right,
So,
because that's the obvious comp because they're both white, right? But I mean, again, we talked about this with Evan Silva. I don't necessarily think Christian McCaffrey isn't going to run over a dude like Leonard Fournette's going to do. That's not going to happen. But Christian McCaffrey has elite vision and he has elite decisiveness. He knows what he's doing. He's one cut and go. He doesn't hesitate ever, which means he's always going to get you what's blocked. And if the offensive line opens him up a hole, that vision, his choppy footwork, all of that stuff I believe is elite. Like, he sets up, when you watch the film, talk about watching film, he literally sets up second and third level defenders like 7 to 10 yards away. He sees it and he starts chopping the feet and he makes a miss. And that allows him to have huge plays, long touchdowns, and he can do that in both the passing and receiving game. So the versatility, how good of a player he is, and the scoring format of this dynasty league that we're doing, I'm taking McCaffrey 1.01.
Can I piggyback off something real quick with that?
Please.
First off, I love everything you just said. My comp for him, and he's much smaller, but he plays very similar style to Le'Veon Bell in terms of his patience and vision.
Agreed.
I think he's no doubt the running back number one in this class, and I think as a receiver, he could be a top 5 receiver, kind of in that 3rd or 4th overall range. So I agree with Ben that would be a no-brainer.
And he's got one of my favorite memes out there when the guy's behind them screaming. I've used that meme plenty of times.
Yeah, man. I love to hear you say that stuff, Elliot, because I'm on board. He's the best running back in the class.
Well, first of all, we have 30 guys to get through here,
so
Kevin, that level of analysis that we might be here until tomorrow morning.
It was the 1.01. It was the 1.01.
Yeah, I know, but it was like, it's not like you went out on a limb here and he's like, okay, guys, relax.
I'll be quicker.
Christian McCaffrey. I know you guys don't like Christian McCaffrey. Nobody's heard of this guy, Christian McCaffrey. That's a legit 101 pick, and then nobody's like batting an eye at that pick because he is a legit running back.
All right, well, let's keep it going, man.
All right, so with my pick, obviously the second pick, I had to go with my boy Joe Mixon. I feel like that. I know a lot of people is on the guy, especially because of his off the field, or mainly because of his off field presence. But for me, when you see him, I mean, I thought for me that he looked a ton like Le'Veon Bell and what he's able to do. His ability to catch the ball out of the backfield. I just think he's the total package in this draft. And I feel like if he didn't have the off-field stuff, we would be talking about him as a top, as if not the top, right there, the second or third guy off the board, and probably a first-round pick, because he does comp very similar to the range of outcomes that we love, and like the David Johnsons and the Le'Veon Bells, guys who are true 3-down workhorses. And I don't think there's too many of those guys in this draft, and I feel like he's definitely one of them.
I agree.
Solid.
I think I'm up at 103. I took Dalvin Cook because I hate metrics.
And he's hashtag good at football?
Yeah, no. I took Dalvin Cook because I think he's the last remaining running back that can be a 3-down back. He needs to improve his pass rushing. His off-field stuff could drop him in the draft. His metrics weren't great, but his on-field performances were fantastic. I'm a fan of the football player. So.
Nice. Yeah, of course. I mean, those 1 through 3 are the perfect 1, 2, 3. I'm here at 4. I took Corey Davis. I am a Mike Williams fan. This does not mean I hate Mike Williams. I just like Corey Davis as well. So, and I kind of like Corey Davis slightly more. So I took Corey Davis with my 104, only because Leonard Fournette, I don't feel. Sorry, Ryan. I don't want to crap on your parade here, but I feel
all good.
he isn't that 3 down. I know they didn't ask Fournette to catch much, but I feel like Corey Davis is just a better player right now. So that's my 104.
Yeah, and obviously, I mean, Frank led to it. My 105 pick is Leonard Fournette, and to me, at this point, you know, in the draft, it's like, okay, I thought Cook might be able to fall to me, which I do like Cook better than Fournette. But Fournette, I think, you know, I think that he's probably the last back that I'm going to get that I feel comfortable with in starting this team with. And I'll be able to hit home on some of the wide receivers later. But I do think that Leonard Fournette can be a 3-down back. I think, you know, I love the fact that he played in that professional style, lining up in the I formation, getting the LSU rushing titles within 3 years. You know, he played for a prestigious program. I just think this dude knows what it's going to take at the next level. And I think even though he had a down year last year, we got to go back and look at what this kid did his sophomore year and not forget it, because he is an electric player on the field.
All right, how about this for quick? At the 1.06, I took Mike Williams. I think he's the last of the top 6, and I think Eliot did all the explaining for me earlier in the show.
Nice.
There we go.
What do you really think, Ben?
I like him, man. Next
I know.
pick.
I love him too. Kevin's up with another. Wait, somebody misspelled his name, but he's
apparently it's a Gordwin now.
He tried to spell it Goatwin, and the R just got in there somehow.
It was I don't know what happened there. Who did this?
You did. Well, anyway, you're up, bro.
Yeah.
By the way,
playing a game of Clue right now.
Oh, dang.
Wait,
No.
Ben's got a breaking announcement. Ding, 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 ding.
That was just quick.
breaking
That was just quick. I got Mariota's celebration. Kev, you're up.
All right.
So, I mean, it was pretty easy for me to get Chris Godwin here. I absolutely love Chris Godwin. I think he's a player who is kind of interesting because he's certainly somebody for me that has really flown up the, at least, the hype train has really gotten going on him. I love Chris Godwin. When you route tree, I think that, in my opinion, this is going to be a super hot take, especially with the Mike Williams fan club here that we got going on. That I would take Chris Godwin over Mike Williams.
So
this will end at midnight.
Boo this man.
No, I will say this though. I will say this. Let me say this though. Listening to what Eliot had to say about Mike Williams, he opened my eyes and my heart a little to Mike Williams, and so. And I never necessarily hated Mike Williams. I know I joked a lot because I think I said that. What did I say that? That he wishes he was as good as Laquan Treadwell.
Yeah.
You know what I said?
Whoa, we're getting nasty here.
I'm saying, Eliot.
I can confirm those words were said.
Because the three of us have been trying to tell him, and it took you to come on to finally get him to admit that he needs to see the light. So
this is my calling, man. This is I'm a Mike Williams disciple, and I'm just here to preach his good name.
I trolled some people too with my Mike Williams Treadwell take, but he's still my number 2 wide receiver. But Zay Jones, yeah. But anyway, go ahead.
No, it's just my feelings on him are still the same. But I do still feel like that he's going to need to put into a situation where he can win, because if he gets placed, I don't know, like with a quarterback like Mike Glennon, or a quarterback that's not going to be willing to throw him, or Alex fucking Smith would be the absolute worst for him. He would rot away because he just needs to go to a system, in my opinion, where teams are going to be willing to utilize his best strengths. And if he goes, so for me, he could be a little bit situation dependent.
Do me a favor, if you got a chance, hop on over to NDT Scouting and read my article about Mike Williams in terms of how he wins. But 108. I took O.J. Howard. I think we discussed O.J. Howard enough. I think he's a rare talent, and after 106, I'd feel comfortable taking him anywhere.
Even I was gonna say, ask you, Elliot. Even in a non-tight end premium, in a regular, start one tight end, regular, you would take OJ Howard at 108.
I think tight end is a premium position just because of how few guys there are. If you're talking about a guy that can end up as a top 5 tight end, I'm looking for that over guys. I mean, the wide receivers in this class, for example, how many wide receivers are there in the NFL that you can feel comfortable playing, as opposed to how many tight ends are there that you can feel comfortable playing?
Okay.
Yep, totally agree.
Nice. Okay, so I went David Njoku because Elliot sniped me because OJ Howard was going to be my pick. So I said, let me go with the second one because of what Elliot just said, especially in the tight end premium as well. I think it just adds to it. So I went David Njoku, 1, because I like saying the name, 2, because I think he's the second best tight end. And yeah, that's what I went with. That's at the 109 pick, by the way. Whoever's keeping track. The one person watching us on YouTube.
It's the Podfather.
He's writing it
Probably my
down.
mom.
He's like, this Dynasty Frank is a piece of shit. I can't wait for his
Getting more
rant against me.
ammunition.
He's warming up for the Elliott rebuttal. But I got the back-to-back picks here, and I went John Ross. I just love this guy. I love his speed. I think if he lands in the right situation, I think that this guy can just put up fantasy numbers. And I think that, in looking at Matt Harmon's reception perception on him when we had him on last week, I just think that he doesn't just run the go route. He has a couple other routes in his tree. So I do like him. I've seen people try to compare him to Ted Ginn Jr., but I think he has definitely more upside than that. And then I went with the 201 pick, and I took Bucky Hodges just because I fell in love with this guy's measurable. And then the tight end premium, I wanted to be able to take one of those guys, and I still ended up getting another tight end that I love. So
Wait, 201, you went with Evan Ingram. Didn't you go with Evan Ingram, 201?
Yeah, he went with Evan Ingram.
yes.
He's just jumping the tracks here. He's just
My bad.
speeding us along.
I got excited about Bucky because I knew it was a hot take. But yes, I did take Evan Ingram as well too. So I do have 2 tight ends. Spoiler alert. I love Evan Ingram. I think that this guy comps a little bit to Marcus Colston, who, if I'm not mistaken, did play a little bit of the tight end, then morphed into a receiver. And I think we could kind of see that here with Evan Ingram as well, where he could possibly, become a wide receiver too. I just think that his fantasy upside is through the roof, and that's why I went with him.
Nice. Well, I went in a super flex because after this, I don't know. Anyway, I went with Deshaun Watson because I still have him as my number 1 quarterback. I know people like Trubinsky, whatever. I don't. I like Deshaun Watson. I like everything about Deshaun Watson. Off the field, on the field, the defense. I mean, Alabama game, yes, okay. Recency bias, of course, whatever. I liked it. So, yeah, I still like Deshaun Watson. And I took him at the 202.
So, I love that pick. I've tried to put it in the atmosphere. I have a Jets custom-made Deshaun Watson jersey that I got in November when the Jets were terrible, trying to put it out in the atmosphere to save the franchise. So I like
That's
that.
unbelievably amazing. That is dedication right there. I love that.
At 203, I went Kareem Hunt. He's a running back I'm really high on. He can develop into a 3-down. But I know metrics people are a little bit lower on him. His story is pretty interesting because he came to the Senior Bowl around 200 pounds and ripped it up. He ran by everybody. And then he showed up at the combine, I think, like 226 and did not run very well, trying to prove that he could be a power or speed back, whatever teams want. His film is amazing. If you have any questions on Kareem Hunt and you want to see the best prospect performance of anyone this year, watch him versus Western Michigan. I think he breaks 17 tackles in the game. He's just running through everybody. Hunt is a guy that receives very little attention, but can be a big-time player in the NFL.
Nice.
So I believe I'm up next, and
Yes.
That was, first I'll say that Frank, that was a good pick. You must fancy yourself an Alex Smith fan with that selection. So,
Whap whap.
But I took the best quarterback in the class, and that's Patrick Mahomes. I do think Deshaun Watson probably has the highest floor of any of the quarterbacks, but I think Patrick Mahomes is the highest ceiling. Of course, very raw. Is going to need to go to a system where no bias or anything, but I do think Kansas City would be a great fit for him to be able to sit for a year behind Alex Smith, and really work on some things because when you watch him,
what do you think Alex Smith can teach Mahomes? How to throw 2-yard outs? You think, or
pretty much.
He only throws 2 yards in comeback situations, 2-minute drills.
Right.
Otherwise, it's handoffs strictly.
He's like, kid, whatever you do not throw to 9 routes. Whatever you do, 9 routes are not your friend. That's what he's telling Mahomes.
It is the worst. Like it is the app. Like I think that that I really just there's a part of it that does hate Alex Smith because just watching him and especially last year in the playoff game against Pittsburgh, just seeing Tyreek Hill just go straight down the field wide open, nobody covering him. Now Alex Smith's like, nope, we're just gonna hit Travis Kelce on this little out route.
No, he doesn't
Thank
like
God.
65-yard touchdowns. So.
But thank God he threw it to Travis Kelce, and he had that weaving in and out for 60-yard touchdown pass because that one play won me a championship in my home league. So thank you very much, Alex Smith. But anyway, so Patrick Mahomes was your pick?
Yeah, are you good, Kev?
Yeah, keep moving.
All right, yeah, my internet's cutting in and out. I'm going to go quick. I took Curtis Samuel here at 2.05, and it's really just an upside play. Without John Ross's 40 time, everybody would be talking about Samuel. Super landing spot dependent, but knowing that second-round picks bust a lot, I'm just going for the upside with Samuel.
Nice. I like that.
Yeah, love that. That was going to be my pick, but then I decided to go with Marlon Mack, who I just love. This guy out of South Florida, huge production numbers there for the team. I believe he got to just about 100 yards per contest in his career there. He had 6 of his touchdowns go for 40 or more yards. I just love his explosiveness in the second level. He puts stiff arm licks on guys, which who doesn't like seeing that from the running back when they're getting downfield, even from a small guy like him. So definitely had to snipe up Marlon Mack there with my pick.
Nice. Okay, I'm up with the 207. I took a wide receiver I really like, Carlos Henderson. I like the grit in this kid, and he's athletic. I like the tape I saw on him. I think I only saw 2 or 3. I haven't watched as much film as Eliot has watched. Let's just put it at that. I don't think anybody has. I don't think it's I think it's impossible.
No, nobody.
But what I have watched with Carlos Henderson, I loved what I saw. So yes, that was my pick at 207.
I love Carlos Henderson. He broke 48 tackles. He made 48 defenders miss this season.
Nice.
Which is twice as much as the next closest receiver.
Love it.
At 208, I went Alvin Kamara out of Tennessee. He's an explosive back, probably about a 10-15 touch guy. Gets him carry some catches out of the backfield. He's very comfortable with the ball in his hands in space. He's kind of a big play guy. He may go earlier in the draft than he should, but I think that teams, whoever gets him, will take him earlier and want to get him involved. And so I'll try to take advantage of that upside.
Nice. A lot of people don't like Kamara, but I love Kamara.
I like him too. I have a second-round grade on him. I've just seen him talked up as a first-rounder, and I think that's a little rich.
Yeah.
I think that's where some of the negativity comes from. I like his tape too.
Well, I think people just because he wasn't a workhorse that they just don't think he's going to be. If he can't be an every down back at college, then how's he going to be in? What's his role going to be in the NFL? But that's also I don't know. But that's either here nor there. But I took the GOAT, Taywan Taylor, with the next pick. I know Frank loves this man, which he should.
Taywan Taylor.
I felt like I don't
Get on board, Frank.
Nope. Unless
What-
Elliot just goes off crazy and like starts rattling off stats.
That's what I was just about to
Yeah,
ask.
then he's
And
gonna get in
convinces
line
me
real
like
quick.
he convinced Kevin on Mike
you
Williams.
know, Matt Harmon, the wide receiver whisperer,
He's gonna
wasn't
make
able
you
to
see the
convince
light.
So, Elliot? What are your thoughts on Taywan Taylor?
So,
Yay or nay, Elliot?
no,
Give it a
I mean,
thumbs up.
I like him less than other people do. I think he's about a third round guy. I think he's a real good route runner. He's got good hands. He can turn the ball up the field, but he looks to avoid contact too much. But he's
That's
a big
exactly
guy
what I'm
that's going to be
saying.
real good out of the slot. I will say this, though, in terms of Frank's celebration. My boss, Kyle Krabs, has him as the number 2 receiver overall on his board. Over
One,
Mike
I think
Williams.
third round is solid. And 2, if you guys are listening and not watching the video, please go to YouTube and watch the dance that Frank just did, because that was amazing.
I wasn't even ripping Taylor. I like Taylor. It's just I don't see the
Right.
the boundary
the only
high end ceiling guy.
Right. The one thing that I saw when I first saw Taywan Taylor, and it was that my initial thing is like, this guy is trying not to get touched. He runs for the sidelines on
Business
every. Yeah, again, somebody, I forgot who it was on Twitter, said, yeah, that's what Deion Sanders called a business decision. He's no Deion Sanders, you know? He's no prime time. But I feel like this guy does not want to get touched at all. And that was my only issue that I had with him. I'm like, all right, I like him. He nice catches, break some tackles, nice route running. But, oh, man, I feel like if somebody's really physical, like if you have a press corner that's really physical with him, it could just throw him off. But again, I only watched about three videos.
It sounds like we need to have Kyle on the podcast next time. All right, so that's a great take. Just to tell you what he thinks of him.
Well, I'm going to say, Elliot agreed with me, Kyle. So there.
Who's got the next pick?
It is. That's you, Ben.
Oh,
Actually.
My apologies. I had to shut off the doc for a minute. Sorry about that. So I'm going upside again with both these picks with Jeremy McNichols and Juju Smith-Schuster. Again, PPR format. Jeremy McNichols is a raw runner. I do think that there is, some game-breaking ability there, and he's a really, really good receiver. Started out, I believe, was a receiver in high school. So I really like that. If he gets in a good spot, that PPR scoring could unlock some upside there at the end of the second. And then Juju Smith-Schuster I've seen go higher than this. Happy to get him here. Definitely don't think that he is a, perfect seamless transition to the NFL, but he's young. Had a great season in college 2 years ago, very good breakout age. And so I'm going to take a chance on upside there at 3.01.
Digging Juju. I like both those picks, both those players.
Kev, don't do it.
I don't really want to do it. Like I hate it.
He stinks. Kevin, your team is by far the worst team in this mock. Let me just say this right now.
That is blasphemy. So
Oh, that's awesome.
Go ahead, 302, Kevin.
Carry his team.
I feel like
name out of your mouth.
Dante Foreman is like the Jeremy Hill of this. I don't know, but I'm not super high on Dante Foreman. But I felt like in the third round here, I felt like it was worth taking a shot. His ADP seems to be much higher than this. I think his range of outcomes is all over the board. I think people look at him and see his a big in between the tackles grinder with that straight line speed that he has, but I'm not overly impressed with the guy. I definitely didn't feel great about it, but with the guys that were left, I was like, well,
this bet. You're hedging this pick.
Let's just throw a dart here.
All right.
I grade Foreman as a 5th rounder. I know a lot of people really like him, but when I see him, I see someone that doesn't know how to use his side speed. He seems to try to run through defensive linemen and make corners miss, which is mind-boggling. I think Marcus Mosher, I think that's how you pronounce his last name, of Bleacher Report showed that he had a majority of his runs against 6-man fronts in the Big 12. His competition level is going to take a huge rise up. If you watch the game against Oklahoma, he's got 3 big runs, and 2 of them are just wide open holes.
Right.
One run looks fantastic. If you just watch his highlights, you'd probably say he's amazing. But the consistent his consistent ability on the field is just not something that impressed me. Kev, I don't mean to. I know you didn't like him there. I just had to put my 2 cents in on Foreman.
It's all right. Ben hates
I
him.
love it. No, I'm not a big fan either. I love it.
We all
Keep
hate him
firing.
except Kevin.
Apparently I'm the Deonta Foreman fan club here, but it's better than the next guy.
No, it's not.
So Wayne Gallman's better than Foreman. He's better than Jamal Williams too.
Well, he went after. I mean, he went before Jamal Williams.
No, I know, but everyone loves Jamal Williams in this class. If you look at every expert, his sleeper running back is Jamal Williams.
Yeah.
If you watch Jamal Williams and then you watch Wayne Gallman, you're going to say that Wayne Gallman is Jamal Williams if Jamal Williams was better at everything he did. He's a powerful one-cut runner that has ability out of the backfield, and I think in the right situation could flourish in the NFL.
I dig it. I like Wayne Gallman. I was going to be my pick. I went with Jamal Williams with my next round pick. I like Jamal Williams. I would have rather have Gallman. Definitely not Dante Foreman. I'm looking past the board, and I saw maybe Samaje Perine. I might have messed up with this. I should have went maybe Samaje Perine. One thing I can say about Samaje Perine watching his tape is that Joe Mixon looked phenomenal. Oh, my God. He looked ridiculous watching Samaje Perine, right? We watched Samaje Perine together, didn't we? We're like, holy shit, this Joe Mixon looks phenomenal.
That's not a guy we watched together.
No, who did we watch together then?
Anyway, Chris Godwin, all the Ishmael Zamora. That was a wide receiver night.
That was about anyway. So I went with Jamal Williams because exactly what Eliot said. Everybody's talking about him. I saw something here. His average defenders, he's faced 7 defenders in the box. 67.5% of the times it was 7 or fewer defenders in the box. 32.5%. It's 8 or more in the box. Whatever. Everybody's coming up with a new stat, new metric. So I just went with Jamal Williams because he was the last one left that I felt comfortable about. And I did not see Samaje Perine was still out there. So I screwed up. But it's better than the next pick coming up, Ryan. Sorry.
Well, yeah, I didn't take Samaje Perine either. I didn't want another running back. Minutes. I went fucking Hodges.
Congratulations, Kev. Your team is no longer the worst.
Yes.
Hey, Bucky, go out there, run some go routes, run some fade routes, catch me some passes, get in the red zone. Let's go, baby. Put the team on the back.
All right. So the Christian McCaffrey pick, it's my favorite. But from a value standpoint, Samaje Perine here at 3.06 is by far my favorite pick. I fucking love this dude. He basically came out the womb a bowling ball to be a running back.
The womb.
Frank talked about Joe Mixon, and of course that shows up. But I love Samaje Perine and his tape as well. And to get him in the middle of the 3rd round, I'm ecstatic. If he goes to the right team, I think it can unlock a very, very usable asset in Dynasty. Love this pick.
I do too. Another bad pick coming up here by Kevin, but go ahead.
Oh, I like this pick, Kev.
Yes. First thing I'll say too,
Jordan Howard gets one. There we go.
Jordan Howard was a 5th round pick too. I'm just saying. So, like Foreman could be, but anyway.
No, bro.
I feel like
Perine is the Foreman of is the Howard of this class.
No, the one I picked at 309 is going to be the Howard in this class.
But I feel like I went all upside with my picks. Here, just the massive ceilings that outside of Foreman to have. But Zay Jones, I'm surprised because now you're seeing reports today that the Titans could possibly be looking at him in the 1st round, which seems way too high for me.
That's horrible.
But I think Travis may have a heart attack if that happens. But the dude. He played against, what he played for fucking, I just had it up and now I dropped it.
East Carolina?
There you go.
Yeah,
but
he doesn't know where he's from.
Anyway, I don't know what I was gonna say. Now I'm just confused.
I mean, the guy had 216 targets, 158 receptions, right? 1,744 yards and 8 touchdowns.
He's not good after the catch, but one thing he does really well is he runs good routes. He's going to probably start off his career in the slot. He's got good stick knowledge and good understanding of zones and how to settle in there. He's got sticky hands too, so he may end up being a better NFL player than fantasy player. But I think he can be a really effective slot receiver in the NFL.
Yeah, like a Jordan Matthews. That's what I saw. Like, he is nice. He finds a nice hole in the zone. He sits down. I don't see him breaking any tackles. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. What I saw, he goes down like the first guy's always tackling him. And I kind of think, isn't he like a big enough guy? Like, doesn't he have some size to him as well? Like, why is he? I feel like he goes down too quick. I don't know. Maybe I could be wrong.
I think he only averaged 5 yards after catch.
So yeah, that's not.
The guy he reminded me of was a Rashad Matthews. So I can get that.
Oh, I like Rashad Matthews. Oh, maybe I like this.
Love Rashad Matthews.
So the guy I went with at 308 is one of my draft crushes in Ardarius Stewart. He forced the second most missed tackles in the class after Carlos Henderson at 24. 1 out of every 3 catches.
Nice.
He can play outside or in the slot. He's an explosive player with the ball in his hands. He can adjust to the ball down the field. He turns screens into big plays. He's a violent blocker and runner. He runs like a running back. He can run through you or make you miss. Runs good routes. Has good understanding of zones. And he needs to improve his hands. Drops a few too many passes. But he's a raw playmaker with all the ability you look for in a receiver.
And he had the same amount of touchdowns as Zay Jones on 77 targets. Just saying.
Yeah, if he had Calvin Ridley's targets, I forget the exact number, but I think he would have ended up with 80 catches, 1,200 yards, and like 12 touchdowns.
I will say, watching O.J. Howard film, Ardarius Stewart kept making phenomenal catches that had me very impressed.
With Ardarius Stewart, I think that he's sort of interesting because it's like there's people on two sides of the camp with him.
Yeah.
People absolutely vehemently hate the guy and
they
say
hate
he's
him.
trash. Or yeah, or I mean other people too, but not just that. Or people really, really, really like the guy. Why do you think that is? That seems to be no middle ground with Stewart.
Well, I mean, I think it has something to do with the fact that he played at Alabama and the offensive system that they run. A lot of his passes were caught at the line of scrimmage. And you're also talking about a team that only throws. The quarterback's only going to throw to his first read. So a lot of the plays that teams look for or that people want to see down the field aren't there. I know he ran like a 4.49. I think people would have hoped for more of a 4.4 flat from him. But when he reached out to the NFL committee that gives players draft grades, he got a second-round grade. I think when you watch his film, you see an explosive player. And the thing that I love about him, I think he's the best blocking receiver in the class. So again, like we were talking about with tight ends and how they can help a running game, if a team drafts Ardarius Stewart, I think it gives a boost to whatever team's running back or whatever team he goes to. That running back gets a bump.
I know we're going super long, but I can't help myself. You said Ardarius Stewart caught a lot of passes from the line by the line of scrimmage. What I was referring to was like deep shots downfield, and he seemed to have really, really good tracking ball skills to catch those balls. I wasn't watching him specifically, so I'm just curious, Eliot, to see if you noticed that too, that kind of elite ball skill.
Oh no, 110%. He has that ability. It just didn't get to get shown off that much. But
exactly, yeah.
Even if you
especially with the quarterback, yeah.
Watch his gauntlet drill at the combine. The quarterbacks couldn't throw close to him, and he was adjusting to every pass and making a great catch and continuing his route. I think Stewart's got a really high upside. He's definitely better than Ishmael Zamora.
Yeah, I agree.
Fire all the way to the end.
Fire! Spit that fire. My 309 pick is Aaron Jones, the UTEP running back. I like this aggressive little firecracker. I think he's angry. I think he's just he runs angry. I think it's UTEP. He was beating up for lesser competition, but I liked his tape. I like what I saw in him. I'm hoping at 309. We're throwing darts here. So if he gets in a nice spot, what is it, like a fifth rounder? If fifth, sixth round, NFL draft, I think he can work his way as a committee back early on, and then maybe take on like Jordan Howard. There we go, a nice Jordan Howard role in Aaron Jones. I like this kid.
All right, and then I'm the last pick, the 310 pick, and I went with a guy, Cooper Kupp here, who's been catching a lot of I see his stock been raising over the past couple of weeks, past couple of months. A lot of guys in the industry are getting on this kid. He has the football pedigree with his father having played in the NFL as well, Craig Kupp. So a lot of former scouts have been talking about Cooper as well. This is a FCS darling here who has the all-time leader in receptions, yards, and touchdowns. You look at this guy on film, and he's not really quick. He's not going to blaze you with speed, but he's got super reliable hands. I just think he does everything that you expect out of a wide receiver. If you guys aren't following Ben on bumpers, go do so. He did a bumper on this guy. So Cooper Kupp love right now, and I wanted to get on that bandwagon. I thought that he was a great pick there.
Yeah, I mean, he's like Mayhawk's fifth wide receiver or something like that. It's concerning that he only plays on one side of the field, right? He's either the right or the left. I forgot which outside.
Slot. He plays
slot.
All slot.
Okay. So, yeah, well, there you go.
He could be like a Michael Crabtree in the NFL as a big slot receiver, that kind of role.
I like Michael Crabtree.
That's one dangerous thing about player comps is you start comparing a player, and it's like you're comparing like certain traits, and now people are like, oh, well, you said he's going to be Michael Crabtree, and he's not. So,
right. Well, Eliot Crist said it was going to be Michael Crabtree.
It's just the way you present it, right? And then people have to, however they hear it. But yeah, people. Oh, he said David Johnson, so yeah.
You mean you're talking about Jeremy Nichols and.
Yeah, and we can talk about the receiving ability and put it in perspective. But no, some people hear David Johnson and all hell breaks loose. But guys, we survived, and that pod was
we made it through.
And I just found out the Bulls won again. Let's go, baby! Up 2-0. Yeah, man.
Well, the Rangers won.
All right,
we'll take that.
All right, it's a good night.
I feel bad rooting for the Bulls right now.
I know. Yeah,
it's like that was my pick pre.
I agree.
Not that I tweeted out, so it doesn't matter because I just sound like I'm hopping on the 2-0 bandwagon. But
yeah, if it's not on Twitter, it doesn't count.
True.
When I heard about Isaiah Thomas, I was like, I want that man to, try to have some sort of joy in his life.
It feels really weird. Well, I'm not really rooting. Like you can't even say you're rooting against it. But I am a Bulls fan. People better recognize Jimmy Butler.
I didn't want them to make the playoffs. I didn't want the Bulls to make the playoffs at all. But now that they're there, it's like, let's go.
Look, I was with you, bro. But then, like I said to Kevin, a couple days ago, look, if they're in it and they're winning, I'm allowed to, in the short term, become a fan and just root for it. So.
Yeah, if you're a Bulls fan or you're a fan of a team and they made the playoffs, you're allowed to root for them. I don't know what the question is.
Exactly.
Well, when you have so many hot takes about how much you hate them, and then all of a sudden, or that you don't think they should make the playoffs, and then when they make the playoffs, you can't just reverse course. I'm back on.
No, you can because again, are they going to win the championship? No, but in the short term, I can root for it.
But they can go to the Eastern Conference Finals.
That's yes.
Just like
I hope it
happens until they play LeBron.
That's exactly.
I don't think they'd have a shot against Washington, but
yeah, that's true. Washington would probably beat them.
I don't have anything to add to that.
I don't even know what the hell you guys are talking about. Is it soccer? Is it basketball? Who's in there?
And I'm really salty because Miami, had the same record and got booted out from the playoffs by Chicago. So,
wait, you're a Miami fan?
I've been a Heat fan since Tim Hardaway and PJ Brown and Alonzo Mourning and before the 3-day.
That's refreshing to see a Heat fan that wasn't just a Heat fan because of LeBron, to be honest.
Yeah, but again, it was because of players not in your city. I mean, like, if somebody put a gun to my head, I'm a Knicks fan because it's
I'm
New
from
York,
Kansas
but
City,
it's horrible.
bro. Who am I going to root for? The Kings left a long time ago.
Yeah, you're right. You're
guys,
right.
there's no chance Anthony leaves this in the pod. So,
hey.
So just to confirm, do you guys want to make any more LeBron James jokes about how people that are just fans of him suck? Or should I now announce that I'm just a LeBron James fan?
I'm a LeBron James fan, so
What?
I like
Ben.
LeBron James a lot.
As far as
Now, I used to hate him. Because I loved him when Cleveland. He left. He broke my heart. I didn't like it. I didn't like him on Miami. I thought he was mentally weak for as good as he's supposed to be. But the last couple years of Miami, I got over it, and he came back to Cleveland. He won a championship for the land. Love this dude in Cleveland. I'm not a Warriors fan that much, although Andre Iguodala is from my hometown. I love to see LeBron take him down. And LeBron James, everybody loves to hate
LeBron
on
James.
Never been in trouble with the law. From what we know, good father, good husband, good leader. I'm a fan.
Jordan or LeBron?
Are you
Michael Jordan?
Are you a bandwagon NBA fan, Ben?
No, I'm a Chicago Bulls fan.
Are you? So you're going to be a Sixers
But he
fan
likes
for too
players.
long because I mean they're on the come up.
I mean, I'm always going to root for a team that tries to build right. Like in the NBA, you have to suck and try to get one or two players can turn your franchise around. So yeah, I like what the Sixers were trying to do. Yeah. But yeah, I have players that I like. Russell Westbrook's my favorite. Jimmy Butler, James Harden. Yeah, I mean, I like the stars.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
Right.
I mean,
I
that's
like
what
go.
I
I
like
would
the
love
Bulls.
to.
I liked Jordan. Who wasn't a Jordan fan growing up?
I hated Jordan.
Leave it to Kev. Leave it to Kev.
Just
Jordan, Mike
contrarian to be contrarian.
He's amazing. I'm not saying that anything like that. I'm not throwing shade his way, but like I don't know. I guess I'm always
Jordan's the
contrarian.
best of all time. Great. Jordan's the GOAT. Don't get it twisted.
No
Please
doubt.
don't get
No
it
doubt.
twisted, anybody.
I
Please.
never said that. I'm just saying, like I rooted for the Jazz both years. I was just crushed whenever they lost.
I was actually in Utah at a Sundance workshop with my brother when Utah was playing the Bulls in the finals, whatever. And even the Mormons were giving me, I'm like, I'm going for like Jordan and the Bulls to beat the Jazz, and they're angry.
I was like 10. How old were you?
When
I'm
Jordan
turning 40.
hit the shot, I was a young boy in a car listening on the radio traveling home from Chicago. I didn't get to watch it live.
I saw that.
That was
in
a
Utah.
dagger to my heart when that happened. Like I was John Stockton and Karl Malone.
It should have been his final play, his final shot, but the Wizard years happened, and I'm cool with it. He added, I'm cool with it. He had an itch he had to scratch.
The best thing that ever happened to Michael Jordan was the fact that he came around in the 80s and not now.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What?
Nothing to do with on the court, but the way he lived his off the court life of constantly getting drunk and gambling and womanizing.
Oh
and
man,
all that
yeah.
You brought that up
stuff.
earlier.
Have a field day with that.
Oh man, yeah.
Yeah,
It would be
I
really
knew where you were
bad.
going with that.
Oh my
Michael
god.
Jordan on the court could play in any era ever, but I mean, like in the
I was processing there when you said
Everybody in the 80s too. I mean, we brought it up earlier, like Lawrence Taylor. The stories that you hear, the cocaine riddled hooker parties that he had after games. There was no way. If he was in the NFL right now, there's no way he would make it past the season.
Are you talking about Irvin?
No, I'm talking about LT. Did I not bring up Lawrence
and Michael
Taylor?
Irvin. They would be suspended for a full year before preseason even ended.
What about Chris Carter?
Yeah.
Chris Carter, the guy who constantly was suspended for.
He got cut pre-Twitter. He got cut.
He got cut. But now he's the one that wants to preach about every time a player messes up about how they don't deserve the right to be in the NFL.
It's crazy.
Oh my gosh.
The high horse that these guys get on.
He said some questionable stuff where it's like, what is he? Is he even doing a lot with ESPN now? I think they kind of pushed him. What? Yeah.
No,
he literally got fired for what he said. So.
Wait, what did he say? What made it?
I don't remember. But he would say some questionable stuff about.
Well, you shouldn't throw stones if you live in a glass house.
Yeah, he was throwing stones.
The problem is we all live in glass houses. We really do. Everybody
Dang.
lives in a glass house, and nobody needs to throw.
All right, this is philosophical hour.
No.
Lay down on the couch.
Yeah.
I mean, we all throw stones, but if we just if we're honest with ourselves, nobody should be throwing anybody stones. But whatever.
Frank, I'm going to start crying. That was amazing.
Buy my book, Throwing Stones by Dynasty Frank.
Listen, guys, I had a blast tonight. That's all.
Me too. Me too.
Thanks for having me on, guys. I hope I did okay.
You did amazing, bro.
Great, man.
Thanks
It
for
was
coming on.
awesome.
We really appreciate it.
Yeah, anytime
It was
you
great,
guys want to
Elliot.
talk
We
draft
definitely
or
enjoyed
fantasy
it.
or anything, let me know. Kev, I hope I didn't come down too hard on you on your fantasy draft. You just
It was amazing. I don't care who says it. My draft was amazing. Watch, we can come back here a year from now. We're all going to be talking about how great, how my draft was the GOAT draft.
Hey, let's give it two or three. All right.
No, I don't.
5 or 6.
Yeah, a little bit of time.
When Pat Mahomes leads the Chiefs to the Super Bowl, next year,
Mahomes QB1.
Then we'll just come back and I'll just mic drop and walk off. Just don't have something to say.
When Deshaun Watson is throwing Quincy Enunwa
interceptions, just
hey, Enunwa in Dynasty. I like
Enunwa. I have Enunwa on many
Enunwa
teams.
too.
I think that 3 quarterbacks go top 13.
Wow. Wait, which one gets left out? Is it Mahomes?
Oh, wow.
No.
Kaiser.
Yeah, Kaiser.
Yeah.
All right.
From what I've heard, Kaiser won't be the 4th quarterback taken.
Okay. If you say that, are the Bears taking one at 3 because you're starting to hear rumors about it?
So I think that the Bears are said to love Watson.
Yeah.
That's what I've heard. That the Niners like Trubisky, the Jets like Trubisky and Watson, and are kicking the tires on Mahomes.
Yep.
The Cardinals love Mahomes, and the Saints really like Mahomes.
And Bill O'Brien loves Mahomes, right? Or at least that was reported.
So someone's going to trade up. I know Todd McShay's out here saying no quarterback's going to go in the first round. I'd like to bet him his job that's not going to happen.
Right.
But, I think at this point it's basically just hot takes central. But I would be surprised if 3 quarterbacks made it past 13 because the later teams that want one are going to have to trade up because teams are really shying on Kaiser and Peterman and Davis Webb. Davis Webb's the worst player in the draft.
Well, and I saw a mock. I forget who it was, but it was a prominent mock that has obviously Cleveland taking Myles Garrett, but because everyone, but then using all of the ammunition they have to just move right back up in like the top 5 and get their guy. Like that's absolutely in play. No, okay.
Well,
but I mean, just they have the ammunition to do it.
Yeah, they can do whatever they want to do in this draft. But I'm saying they don't have to give up their entire draft. Is my point.
Yeah, and I wouldn't expect them to do that either. You don't acquire all these picks just to give them away. But I'm just saying, like, there's a ton of options.
Yeah, no, 100%. Guys, if you want to have a good time, Davis Webb might go in the 1st or 2nd round. Watch his film against Washington and Stanford and count how many times he should have thrown an interception.
Drinking game?
One shot.
Well, yeah, let's watch that tape together and make it a drinking game. Yeah,
take one shot for every time you should have been an interception, and if you don't throw up, I'll give you like $20.
All right, so Davis Webb versus who? What's
Stanford and Washington.
All right, we got to end this pod so we can go do our homework.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's not good tape.
Can we just end with this? That the Chiefs should John Dorsey, if you're listening to me, trade Alex Smith.
He's totally listening.
And a couple of we have quite a few thirds. Send them to the Jets for the we'll just swap picks and we'll give you Alex Smith. I think that's a steal for you guys to get Alex Smith. Right?
So a rebuilding team wants to acquire a 32-year-old quarterback that doesn't throw past 10 yards.
You mean?
I mean they drafted Hackenberg last year.
Sure.
Good point. So you never know what they're going to do.
Second round.
Yeah. Worst draft pick of all time, probably.
Kev, you have no idea. You say Alex Smith is bad. Watch Ryan Fitzpatrick play. I mean, against your team,
I
interceptions in a game.
Yeah, against us. I know. We're giving you like it's like for going from Ryan Fitzpatrick to Alex Smith is like going to Tom Brady, right?
Listen,
so
I'm kind of in the misery with you guys because Paxton Lynch needs to start all 16 games next year so we can see if he's the real deal or not. Hopefully he is. I haven't heard a lot of positive things from people that I trust.
Yeah,
but I feel
he's not.
Right. And so I'm stuck in this quarterback purgatory with you guys, which is why I wanted Romo so much, because even though the Broncos have a Super Bowl roster, they don't have a quarterback to get it done. They have 0% chance to win a Super Bowl, and it really hurts.
I don't I don't hate Alex Smith. It's
It
just
must
he's
suck not
frustrating
to
as
have a
hell.
quarterback.
It sucks, bro. Well, I mean, you don't have one either based on what we. No, I'm just kidding.
I got one with 2 Super Bowl rings. That's all I gotta say.
Real
No.
quick.
boy.
Listen,
Real
I'm the
quick.
last
bear.
dude that will throw shade on Eli. I'm just kidding. I love
I
you.
know. Elliot's got some more hot
Don't
fire.
poke the bear.
Real quick trivia. Ryan Fitzpatrick threw 6 interceptions and no touchdowns, right?
Against the Chiefs.
Yes. Who was the last quarterback to do that?
Peyton Manning.
He threw a touchdown in that game.
Jay
Damn
Cutler.
it.
I don't think
I don't know why
he's way too good.
Matt Schaub.
All right, I'll give you a hint. That after that, they moved him from quarterback, and he became a career punter.
What? Oh,
Wait, what?
a career punter? Well,
Remember-
Tim Tebow went to punt block team, but that he couldn't have thrown 6.
You remember Tom Tupa? In Madden, he had like a 90 throw power randomly because he used to be a quarterback. He threw 6 interceptions, and then they moved him to punter.
I've never heard that name in my life. I swear.
How long
really?
ago was this?
Now
Fantastic.
I can talk about the GOAT punter named Toby Goen. That's the GOAT punter name of all time, but that's another story.
So basically, the last time someone did what Fitzpatrick did, they changed his position to punter.
Yo, I had the Chiefs defense in fantasy that day. That was a glorious day.
And by the way, that punter was playing for the Jets, so they really know great quarterbacks.
Yeah, and Christian Hackenberg, 2nd-round quarterback, but he's not going to dress this year. He's, just taking a year. I mean, man.
So Alex Smith is sounding sexy as hell.
We like
Ryan.
Ryan. We like Christian. We like
Ryan
Ryan's
sitting back like, I like the Steelers. Big Ben's coming back. I got a quarterback, so I don't know what y'all are talking about.
Yeah, Ryan and I
Hey,
got
they
quarterback.
might still draft one. They might still draft one.
I'm telling you, bro, I'm waiting.
Sean Kaiser. They apparently love Sean Kaiser.
I want them to take Mahomes so bad so that my quarterback take
I
from
would love it.
Mahomes take from a month ago comes to fruition. He's the perfect backup to Big Ben.
I mean,
I
guys
would
have
love it.
mocked the Giants taking Deshaun Watson if he was there. Early on, I saw that.
Yeah, I've seen it recently too.
Why? The Giants have Geno Smith backing up Eli.
That's not going to happen.
Oh,
It is right now. It is. Anyways,
Oh,
all right.
okay.
I'm done.
With
I'm
that
done saying
being
All
said-
right, Ryan, wrap this up,
Yeah.
buddy.
when he says stuff like that, it's time to wrap it up. Elliot, man, thank you so much for joining us, guys. If you aren't following him on Twitter, please go do so at Eliot Crist. That's ELIOT Crist, CRIST. All right, 1 L 1 T there. Go see his stuff. Pro Football Focus, National Scout for NDT Scouting. Go read his stuff. I know Kev's got some reading to do there. Per Elliot, he gave him a homework assignment, so he's gonna check that out. Thank you guys so much for joining us. It's been so fun doing this prospect series with you guys. The draft is just 1 week away, and so next week we are going to do for you guys with all 32 teams. We're gonna have the TFA family bringing that to you. It's going to be a ton of fun. We're gonna have a ton of analysts on there, and I can only imagine what the picks are going to be like and what the takes are going to be like. I know Kev's already preparing to say some crazy stuff there. But you guys, if you like the pod, go make sure you're rating and reviewing us on iTunes and Stitcher, downloading it, saving it, putting it in your queue. We would definitely appreciate that. And then next week as well, we're going to be doing live shows on Thursday night and Friday night for the draft. So again, I'm your host, Ryan Williams. You can find me on Twitter at RyanAlexander_W. You can find Ben at Ben Cummins FF, Dynasty Frank at Dynasty Frank, Kevin Steele at Fantasy Raf 13, and go see all of our content at thefantasyauthority.com. We hope you guys have a wonderful night, and we can't wait to see you guys next week when the draft is finally here.
Peace.
Deuces.